What's going on, guys? Love Smash, back with an all-new video for you guys today. And in today's video, I wanted to give you guys my top 10 picks of the characters who I think stand a very good chance, or at least should be considered to be playable characters in the upcoming Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. But this time, we're going to be focusing on the Capcom side. If you guys did not see my video from about a week or so ago, I did my top 10 Marvel picks. This time around, we're going to focus on the Capcom characters. Now, for this list, like always, people different in opinions. They want to see certain characters, they don't want to see certain characters. These are just my picks, characters who I feel deserve a chance to be playable, or based on their popularity, or the demand, or any kind of thing, so on and so forth. So, that's the disclaimer for this video. Like always, these are just my predictions. You guys can have your own picks, and be sure to tell me who you think you would like to see in the comments section below. But, before we begin, I just wanted to say, I tried to focus my list on very old school, kind of like forgotten, highly requested, and just downright really cool Capcom characters. Of course, like, a lot of people want to see other characters from other franchises that already have heavy representation. For me, though, I wanted to see a couple characters who have been forgotten about from classic and really represent that old school nostalgia that Capcom has and some of their characters represent for that great franchise. So when you see some of these characters on this list, some of them you may not even know who they are. I will do my best to explain. But for right now, let's dive in and talk about my first pick. With number one is my man, Edward Falcon. Back in the day, there were a lot of great fighting games for the Dreamcast, and at least for me back in the day, there was Marvel vs. Capcom 1, which was my game back in the day. There was Soul Calibur, but another great game that came out on the Dreamcast that Capcom put out was Power Stone. And what Edward Falcon can bring to the table, basically a moveset that's already written for him. If you just played the Power Stone games, you'll see that. He has his regular moves of what he can do, and then when he collects the Power Stones, those can be his supers, where he gets that Falcon suit on, and he just starts beating the crap out of people, shooting missiles at them. I think he's just an awesome character, and I would love to see another classic fighting game from Capcom be represented in MVC Infinite. So that's why I had to put him on this list. I feel like he's on a lot of people's lists as well. For me, playing this game back in the day was a hell of a lot of fun. And the fact that we haven't gotten a sequel in, I forgot when the second game came out, it had to be like sometime in the mid-2000s or like early 2000s. So I definitely think Edward Falcon deserves a chance to not only represent for a classic franchise, but you never know, if he's included, we could see another Power Stone game on the horizon. So had to put Edward Falcon number one on my list. Moving on to pick number two, we have another character from an underrepresented Capcom old school franchise with Ryu from the Breath of Fire series. Now, Breath of Fire is a series that has had multiple entries and yet has had no representation in any MVC game. So I think it's about time that has changed. And Ryu being the main protagonist of those games, appearing in basically every single game they put out, not to mention all he could do for a potential moveset, I think not having him in this game, along with Edward Falcon, is just downright criminal. The fact that this character has all potential moves, like using a sword as a moveset, can transform into certain dragon-like creatures for his supers, magical attacks, having characters from the Breath of Fire series come out and aid him as potential moveset options. I think it's downright criminal if him or Edward Falcon weren't in this game, for the fact that their movesets are practically written for them, and they could really represent for some classic old school Capcom franchises that have been overlooked. And just a character who, if he's appeared in every single entry in that series, and there have been a lot of entries in that series, and he still, or any character from that franchise, has not been playable yet in an MVC game, I think that's time has changed. So that's why I had to put Ryu on my list. Not to mention all the way he's changed in each game. They can use that for potential skins if they want to put out DLC and make a little more money. So that's why Ryu had to be number two on my list. It may be a little confusing to have two Ryus in an MVC game, but of course that doesn't mean anything when they play drastically different. Moving on to pick number three is a newer Capcom character, but one fans are really demanding, and that is Zora from Azora's Wrath. Now, here's a newer entry in the Capcom franchise, but this character's been demanded, and it's easy to see why. If you played the game, I never personally have, but just seeing people review it and watching some videos on it, the game seems pretty awesome. Just not my cup of tea, because I'm geared more towards fighting games. But seeing this character in action with all the cinematics and the stuff that game brought to the table, and all he could do for a potential moveset, his transformation, growing those multiple arms, and using that as a finisher, which is punching your opponent to death or whatever you want to do, or anything this character could bring to the table in terms of rage mode and all that, I think Zora is definitely an awesome pick for this game, and you can see the demand for this character, so I think it'd be really shocking if he wasn't included as well. Now, so I had to put him as a number 3 pick. Like I said, never played the game myself, but by seeing it in action, I definitely think this is a character that Capcom would be foolish not to include based on demand and for potential moveset as well. Now moving on to pick number 4 is another game I'm not personally a fan of because, like I said, I'm more geared towards fighting games, but here is a big franchise for Capcom, and the fact that they haven't had representation yet is kind of strange, even though I think when it came to MVC3, the company did not want a character in there. But I feel like now it's time, and based on the popularity, a Monster Hunter rep is plausible to be in MVC Infinite. Now, this is a really, really, really big franchise for Capcom, and if this game is like high up there selling multiple units in the millions of dollar ranges, they're going to include a character most likely just a rep for that franchise. Now, it's just a question of who, because there is no set main character in the Monster Hunter franchise. You create your own hunter, and you go through quests, fight multiple monsters. So, they can either go with the hunter, they can go with one of the actual monsters, whatever they feel and deem is the most popular monster in that franchise, and have like a big kind of bulky powerhouse type character, or they can even represent one of the feline characters. I personally don't know, but I definitely think it's very plausible and likely that we will see a Monster Hunter representation in MVC Infinite. Not sure which character it will end up being in the studio, even if they want to include one. I have no idea, but personally I think it would be really sad if they didn't, considering this is such a big franchise for Capcom. So I think it comes down to either the hunter, a monster, or one of the feline type characters, but then again, that comes down to the team and whether or not they want to go that route. But had to put Monster Hunter rep at number 4. Now moving on to number 5 is a character yet again from a very overlooked classic Capcom franchise, and that is Batu from Rival Schools. Rival Schools has been kind of one of those under the radar Capcom fighting games, similar to Power Stone, similar to Darkstalkers, where there haven't been multiple entries like the Street Fighter series, but still has that dedicated audience of fans that really want to see some type of representation. And it's not like it's the first time and be crazy to say, hey, put a character from Rival Schools in a Capcom versus game, because that's who appeared in Tatsunoko versus Capcom. You had that other character, I forget how to pronounce his name, he was in Capcom vs. SNK 2. It starts with a K, the dude with the glasses. And what could Batu bring to the table in terms of a moveset that he already had in Capcom vs. games already, but they can kind of do like the tag team system that Rival Schools is known for and include that in a potential moveset for Batu, whether it's supers or just basic moves, whatever they wanted to do. But I don't think here's a character where a lot of fans are demanding, not to mention a franchise that is definitely overlooked and deserves a chance to have some representation in MVC Infinite. Now moving on to pick number 6, we have either Samanosuke or Soki from the Onimusha series. Now, excuse me if I pronounce any of that wrong. I am not going to say I'm an expert in pronouncing Japanese names, but either of these characters would make a great addition. Now, the reason I put either or for them, I will explain. Now, here's a series with the Onimusha series that has had multiple entries, hasn't had that many games come out previously, but is still up there in terms of sales and popularity for Capcom. Now, Samanosuke has appeared in a few entries of the series as the main character. Soke is sort of that new school type character who's actually appeared in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. So choosing either one of them and having a samurai type character and everything they can bring to the table in uniqueness and being fighters is definitely a cool option here. Now, whether it comes down to which one they want to choose, I remember like reading like an article where an actor, they molded Samanosuke after him. They like when they did like the actor and they like put him in the game, they used like his face and stuff. So I don't know if that comes down to licensing and maybe that's why he's never been included before, but he definitely has the edge over Soke, if, like I said, excuse me if I'm pronouncing any of these names wrong, because he's appeared in more entries, even though he's more new school Soke, would definitely make a unique addition as well. So I think it comes down to one of those two characters to represent for the Onimusha series, and like I said, forgive me yet again if I pronounced any of those names wrong, but that's my number 6 pick on this list. Let me know in the comments if you think either one of them should be included, but I think one of them definitely should be because Onimusha is definitely a big franchise for Capcom and was somewhere down the line. Now moving on to pick number 7 is Regina from the Dino Crisis series. Now you guys might be thinking, what the hell can they do with a moveset to make Regina unique besides shooting guns? That's all she really has been known for in the game, right? Of course, people may say that by first glance, but remember like Jill Valentine in MVC2 or Frank West in Ultimate MVC3 where they were like throwing zombies, or like Jill was launching zombies and dogs at the characters? What if like a crazy idea, besides using multiple guns and weapons, Regina could also throw, or summon, I should say, not throw, she's not physically launching them with her hands, but like summon dinosaur type characters and like have them attack the opponent? Or for a super, like a giant dinosaur comes out of nowhere and takes the character and rips him apart or something like that. I don't know, that's just a crazy idea I was having, but Dino Crisis is pretty up there in like popularity, and like a lot of people are aware of the Dino Crisis series. You always see it like in arcades and stuff, which is really, really cool. That's how I was exposed to the game, at least. And a franchise for that like Capcom, I definitely think deserves some representation. Like I said, I'm trying to include a lot of underrepresented franchises for Capcom on my list with potential characters for this game. So I think Regina, not only being a female character, but also what she can bring to the table. She's really like summoning T-Rexes and like all these type dinosaurs to like aid her in battle would be something really unique to see. Now moving on to pick number 8. Going yet again with another really not well-known Capcom fighting game franchise, and that is Tessa from Red Earth. Now, you may have seen Tessa outside of Red Earth. She appeared in like some of the Capcom versus SNK games as a playable character. Now, if you were going to represent from Red Earth, of course, there's a lot of characters you could choose from. Of course, my first thought was to go with Leo, but just in terms of what Tessa can bring to the table in terms of magic attacks, and add another female to this list as well, like having Regina in there as well. Females are always good to add to the game. They bring variety, and of course, the demand for female characters is always high. I definitely think Tessa deserves a chance to be looked at as a potential character for this game. First off, due to the fact she was one of the 4 playable characters you can actually choose in Red Earth, and because she would be very unique with all the magical attacks she could bring to the table for a potential moveset, I think Capcom and the team and Marvel over there should definitely consider her as a potential option to be added to the MVC Infinite roster. Now moving on to pick number 9, we have yet again another tie, which will be determined to be one of these characters, and it either comes down to Rashid or Necalli from Street Fighter V. Now, if you remember in MVC 3, they added Crimson Viper to kind of like, she fit well into the game cinematic, at least that's what I remember from the article, that's why they ended up choosing her, and the fact that they added a new character from the Street Fighter series to kind of rep for that game, because if you add a character from Street Fighter V, they're going to say, oh cool, I'll go out and buy Street Fighter V now, because that character was in MVC Infinite. So, a lot of fans have gone back and forth. Now, Necalli, I definitely think is a good option here, based on his backstory. He's this DD character where he only shows up when all the best fighters are around and come to play. So pretty much, if that doesn't fit into the game's cinematic and Necalli doesn't make sense for this game based on that, I don't know what to tell you, but that's just based on that. I'm going by Necalli be interesting because he fit in with the game's cinematic, which is going to be very interesting, even though we don't have a lot to go by just yet. But a lot of fans don't like the idea of Necalli because they feel he's going to play too similar to Wolverine, and if he's in the game, Wolverine's not going to be in it. You think Necalli being in MVC Infinite is going to stop them from putting Wolverine in this game? The only thing that's going to stop Wolverine from being in this game is if they can't get the licensing for the Foxrite characters. That is the only thing. And of course, going back to that rumor that X-Men and Fantastic Four characters are supposedly coming as DLC, that has not been confirmed as yet, but everyone is going on that. But if you think Necalli would be included, would stop Wolverine from not being included because they would play somewhat similar, you're crazy. So get that out of your mind right now. But Necalli definitely would be interesting. But then you gotta like go with Rashid on the other hand, because a lot of fans love Rashid. They consider him the best new character from Street Fighter V. Not to mention, a lot of people consider him, quote-unquote, the hero of the game's story mode. So whichever they went with based on popularity, if they wanted to go with Rashid or they think Necalli would fit better with the cinematic story, I definitely think one of these characters will be included. Like I said, it's a hard decision. But any way the route go, like anyone you want to choose or people think will be included, I definitely think it comes down to those 2 characters for my 9th spot. Now moving on to my 10th and final pick. This is where it gets very, very tricky because an ongoing trend in the MVC series has been to add a new Darkstalker character. And this time around, I don't think that will be any different. I definitely think we're going to see another Darkstalker character added, but it's the question of which one. Many fans want to see John Talbane, who is actually my personal favorite Darkstalkers character. A lot of fans want to see Jada. And of course, there's Dimitri, who is pretty much the main character of the series, other than Morgan. That's gone back and forth because he feels like he's been that character that's been overlooked for so long. And his last playable appearance besides a Darkstalkers game in like a Capcom versus series game, I believe was probably Capcom Fighting Evolution. So I definitely think Dimitri is more likely. But then again, John Talbane being so popular with many fans, and they've overlooked Dimitri for so long, it wouldn't be shocked if they did it again. But then you have Jada, you have Lord Raptor. Darkstalkers is yet again one of those really overlooked but beloved Capcom fighting game franchises that fans just love. They have a die-hard fan base, and seems like that's kind of been like an ongoing trend with MVC games. They're adding a new Darkstalkers characters in each entry, so it wouldn't shock me if another one was added. I think it comes down to, most likely in the end, either John Talbane or Dimitri. Dimitri, I'm giving the slight edge. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with my list? Who would you like to see? Who would you not like to see? Anything you want to mention, please feel free. But anyway, guys, that is the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and like always, for all the latest fighting game news and speculation, be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon with a brand new video.